All right, Savannah, welcome back to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm here once again with Mr. Bowen. Some people call him Charles, but most people call him Bo. And we're going to put him through the lightning round. Are you ready?
I don't know what that is, and it sounds scary, but I'll do my best.
So it's basically a bunch of random questions. Some will be business questions, life questions, inspirational questions, but you can ask them as short or as long as you want to. And yeah, you feel free to pass.
All right, well, let's go for it.
Okay. What did you want to be as a kid, and how does that relate to your current business?
I was passionate and convinced that I was going to be an astronaut as a child.
Okay.
And how it relates to my business is in no way whatsoever. You have to be in shape and you have to be brilliant. But unfortunately, the astronaut dream fell by the wayside as the space program of the United States dwindled a little.
Yeah. Maybe you could go up in the next Tesla.
Well, maybe so. That would be fun.
How have you approached failure in life?
Well, the way I look at it is, failure is inevitable no matter what you do. You hear sometimes people on television say, this is an attorney who never lost a case. And I always think, well, then they never really tried a challenging case, because there is not an attorney in the world that can go in there and, take challenging cases and walk away winning every time. It's just simply a part of the business.
Yeah.
So, but, just like in every profession, you learn from it, you move on from it, and you dedicate yourself to the next time doing even better.
Yeah. Who influenced you early in life, and who's your mentor now?
Early in life, especially when it comes to what I'm doing now, there were, if you take the legal side of it, then you have to give credit to two movies.
Okay.
Certainly To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch, one of the greatest fictional characters in the history of literature as far as I'm concerned. And he was the one that, you never hear him through that book talk about money. No, he took on a almost impossible case and lost. Yeah. But served as certainly an example of what it means to try to help other people. The other is a movie called Inherit the Wind, which is about the Scopes monkey trial. Okay. But Spencer Tracy stars as Clarence Darrow, who represented the teacher accused of teaching evolution in Kansas. And it's, once again, he loses. Yeah. It's not a spoiler alert because it's a fictional, or it was a real event that happened. But, to see someone use their intellect in such a way, so you had passion on one side, intellect on the other, and those two movies still, they can still inspire me to get going if I watch them today, no matter what I have going on. Now, in terms of just the type of person to be, you have to give credit. I have to give credit both my mother and my father. They're both living. They both live down in Thomasville, Georgia. Okay. But they are two of the finest, most upstanding, moral people that I know. That's how they, that's what they instilled in me. I'm somewhat of a disappointment to them because I'm not a preacher. I'm a lawyer. But
tell me about it.
But I give them all the credit for the way they raised me in terms of thinking of others first.
Beautiful. So that said, tell me a story about a failure.
Boy, you asked the tough questions there, my friend. Well, I don't mind sharing this story. I think back to the very first case I ever tried. And it was a woman charged locally here. I won't say her name, but she was charged with battery. And what happened was her daughter was in the hospital. I won't mention the hospital either, but one of the local hospitals. and they came out and gave her some bad news, and she wanted to rush in there and see her daughter, and one of the nurses tried to hold her back, and she just slapped away, and she knocked her arms away and caught her in the side of the face with the back of her hand, and she got arrested and charged with battery. And I took it all the way to trial. I thought, come on, how could a jury not understand the emotion involved in the situation? Like I said, first time ever in front of a jury.
Yeah.
And the mistake I made is that I went in there and I argued the law. And I talked about, these are the elements of battery. This is what the state has to prove. And I did it very clinically. I was nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. And the jury ended up convicting her. Now, luckily, the judge simply, gave her a sentence of next to nothing, completely understanding the situation. But what that taught me from the very get-go was that, look, it's all about the story. It's all about, people understand it. If I had that to do over, I would go in, I wouldn't talk about the law. I wouldn't have taken such a, clinical approach to that trial. I would have just simply talked about, tried to make that connection with the jury to where they could understand on a human level exactly what that woman was going through at the time. And I still to this day feel like if I had done that, then she would not have that conviction on her record today.
So that said, and it could be the same thing, but what advice would you give to another attorney that's just starting out and going into their first trial? That, what advice would you give them in a similar situation?
Well, to think, understand that while it can be very intimidating because there are so many rules you have to follow, and there's rules of civil procedure, there's rules of evidence, there's each courtroom has their own rules, every judge, so you're very conscious of those things until you can, sort of, they become second nature to you. You don't have to think about that stuff anymore. But regardless of all those things, there is going to be nothing more important in a trial than your opening statement. Okay? And what you want to do is simply tell the jury a story. Okay? Instead of, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on this date, go in there and say, Mrs. So-and-so is a mother. Her child was born on this day. And you talk about the child, as a child, get them all, get that empathy going. And tell a story of injustice. Because there's, no matter who you are, what socioeconomic background, whatever, everyone understands injustice. Everyone has been the victim of injustice at some point. So if you can make them understand, and more importantly, feel why it is that your client was a victim of some injustice, they will go out of their way to help them, regardless of what the technical law is.
That's beautiful, and it relates back to business so well, because the best business books, the businesses that make you want to buy from them, they tell a story.
Right.
They tell that story. They get you involved. They put you in that place, in the place of the protagonist, and it's it relates back to business.
It's funny because not a lot of people know this, but there's something when you try a case called the golden rule. And the golden rule is you cannot specifically ask the jury to put themselves in the place of the defendant in a criminal trial. And it's because it is such an effective argument. So what you cannot do is say, ladies and gentlemen, what if you were in this situation? What if you were the one whose daughter was in, and that'll be a mistrial if you do that. But what you can do is, imagine a person whose child, and you can get around it very easily. So it really is a rule that doesn't have much weight if you know how to get around it. But it is. You're absolutely right. Just empathy is such an all-powerful tool, no matter what your business.
All right, next question. How did you get your first client?
Let me think. Well, when I first moved to Savannah and I opened my own practice, like I said, the there was another attorney upstairs from where I was living named Bill Maston. And still, I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He still practices here in Savannah. I give him a lot of credit for, you know, kind of mentoring me back then, teaching me, you know, all the little rules, introducing me to people. And he also, you know, sent clients my way when, you know, maybe it was something that he, you know, was too busy for or wasn't, you know, up to his level of where he was in his practice. You know, he sent them down to me. And I think my very first client was, I can't remember his name, but he was a gentleman where the dry cleaner had destroyed one of his shirts. Okay. And then they tried to tell him that, no, it was like that when you brought it in. We've all been there, right? Yeah. And so I think that was if I remember right, that was my very first client. And that was somebody that Bill sent my way. And I treated that like I was going before the Supreme Court of the United States. And I got him his money back for that shirt. But that approach has followed me. You know, I've taken it forward. And you know, no matter what business you're in, you know, if you have the passion for it and you strive to do a good job, and you know, the word is going to, you know, filter out because, you know, every profession has a large percentage of people that maybe don't have that drive and passion, and you know, when you do, you stand out. That's true.
That said, great segue into the next question. So there's something called Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, where it says that 20% of your actions equal 80% of your results. And it kind of goes towards like, you know, 20% of the people in any industry make 80% of the profits and that type thing. Anyway, so in your business, in law and the Bowen Law Group, what's the 20% of things you do that get you the most results?
Well, I can tell you that I think that I have a very, very loyal and satisfied client base. And if I had to distill that down, and it really does probably only take about 20% of the time, but it is communication. You know, the number one complaint that I hear when people say terminate another attorney and come to me is, I just simply couldn't get in touch with them. They never returned my calls. I never knew what was going on with my case, that type of thing. Yeah. So I really try, if I get a voicemail, I try to return it the same day, even if it's late at night, you know, that type of thing. But setting aside time to keep people informed, keeping your clients informed, your customers, if you're in another business, letting them know that, you know, you're thinking about them, you're working on their matter. That's the extremely key, I think. I think that would be the 20% that equates to the most success. And, you know, you learn a lot about the case when you reach out to your clients, too, surprisingly.
True. Yeah. What's your favorite book?
Well, you know,
you don't have to say the Bible.
Well, I've already talked about To Kill a Mockingbird being my favorite movie, but it's also my favorite book. Okay. So I'm trying to think of another one. Yeah, I'll tell you another one that I really, it's, you know, you probably think nobody's ever actually read that book, but the book Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Oh, okay. It's a book you probably had to read in middle school. Yeah. Very short book, yeah. Right, but what, you know, I love that book, and I'll go back and reread it sometimes, because what it teaches is that no matter what you're told, whether it's by a client, a teacher, a preacher, it doesn't matter. No matter what you're told in life, don't just accept it. Don't accept anyone else's word for anything. Examine it yourself, study it yourself, you know, apply your own values and logic and principles to it. And anything that you know doesn't seem right to you, that insults your soul in some way, if you will, then discount it. Then, you know, it's up to every person to find and seek truth for themselves, and not just accept other people's word for it. True.
And that's kind of the issue with social media, because it's so easy to get caught in that bubble where everybody's saying the same thing and nobody's really communicating with the other the other ideologies, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember I used to play basketball, and I remember my coach saying, I'd go up to the line and I'd have bad form shooting free throws. And, I'd say, but I can make, 90% of them this way. He's like, look, when you practice the wrong form, you're not getting better, you're just getting worse. And it's the same thing. If you only allow yourself to hear from people that agree with you, then you're just getting dumber. You're not getting smarter. I mean, that's the facts.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So it's, you're right. It is important to really, don't just listen to the things that support what you want to believe. Try to seek the actual truth of what's going on.
Beautiful. All right, couple more, and I'll let you get out of here. Do you feel like your business is your life's calling?
No. I think that being a father to my two daughters is, if I had to walk away from the practice of law or Southern Gateway Production Services to do something that to support my daughters, there would be no hesitation. So that, I think, it always shocks me when, I talk to people and they either, they had no contact with one of their parents for the time they were growing up, or, you've got a parent fighting to, not have to, spend time with their, I can't understand it. There's, and you're a father. Once you have kids, there is nothing more important in your life than those children.
Very true.
And, taking it back to what we were just talking about before, I always think when I listen to, both the Republicans and the Democrats, and particularly at the federal level, and it seems like they spend all of their time fighting with each other.
Right.
And it always reminds me of two parents going through a divorce who spend all of their time just trying to make the other one look bad instead of thinking what's best for these children.
Right.
And I think the same thing with politics today. How can we make the other party look bad instead of what can we do that's best for the country?
It's terrible. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So that's my life's calling, but hopefully that will entail being able to continue working as an attorney for as long as I can.
Two more. What are you going to teach your children about entrepreneurship?
What
have you taught them? Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of what I've talked about already, but it's, both of them are very creative. They're terrific actresses. They're involved in, both are theater majors, one at Garrison and one at Savannah Arts. And, but with both of them, it's all about teaching them that there's not a specific path you have to follow. You have to find what it is that you are passionate about and you enjoy, because the people that enjoy what they're doing, you can see it immediately. It's infectious. They're the type of people that when they walk into a room, people are drawn to them. And that's what I want for them. I want them, whether it's something that makes them fantastically wealthy so they can take care of their father, in my old age, or if it's something that they scrape by.
Yeah.
As long as it's something that they're passionate about, that they enjoy, and that's what I want to see for them in their life.
All right. And last one, and we'll round up. If you had a superpower or ability, what would you choose and why?
That's a conversation I have with my children all the time. And we've gone through them all. Flying and invisibility and super strength and, all of those things. We have debated the merits of each of those for hours on end. In fact, just a few days ago, I remember my 13-year-old was saying that, the Flash sure is lucky. And I said, what do you mean? Because he's got super speed? And she said, no, because he lives in a world where super speed seems to be able to solve every problem. But I think I would have to go with I think I'd go with invulnerability.
Okay.
And I think the reason I say that is because I am so clumsy that I am routinely stubbing my toe, hitting my head. I think, I'm constantly limping. I think I'm going to go with invulnerability.
You're the first person to say that, so awesome. Yeah, usually people say flying. That's the first one, because I think flying is the only one without a downside. It's the only one that doesn't have a downside. And most entrepreneurs just want to be free, and I think something about flying makes you feel free.
Well, but it's also one that can be mechanically recreated.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Why would you want a power that you could actually do in real life?
Very true. Okay. All right. Awesome. Bo, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great. It's been great. How once again, how can people contact you? What's the name of your law firm? What events do you have coming up?
I am at the name of my firm is the Bowen Law Group. The easiest way to reach me is via email at cbowen@thebowenlawgroup.com. Just Google Charles Bowen Savannah, and you can find my website. My email is on there. We have the Savannah Film Alliance has a meeting coming up on next week, a week from tomorrow, next Thursday, February 22nd, 3 to 5 at Savannah Tech, room 7126. Again,
and that's open to everybody?
Open to the public, but obviously it's geared toward people that are involved with the entertainment industry in some way. But certainly if somebody wanted to come and just hear what was going on, they're more than welcome.
Awesome.
And then Film Day at the Capitol coming up on the 27th.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us again this Wednesday. Want to give a special shout out to my mom who's in the room. Happy Valentine's Day to all the mothers out there, and especially mine.
I concur. Happy Valentine's to you.
Okay, so thank you guys. As always, be the change you want to see in the world. Go out there and do something impactful. Go make a change. You don't have to do anything big to change a person's life. You can just go down the road and be nice to a person. So love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.